Hey guys, Alex Lindblom here from Snorkel Venture, and today we're going to be doing an unboxing video with the Olympus TG7 camera and the Olympus housing for the TG7 camera. Basically, I'm just going to be walking you through the steps from unboxing it to how to set it up so that it is ready for underwater. I'll show you how to clean and maintain the O-ring of the housing. I'll show you how to clean and maintain the camera. And I'll also show you how to charge it, put the SD card in, and I'll even show you how to use some of the different settings that we highly recommend for shooting underwater on the Olympus TG7 camera. Let's dive in. Right, so we are going to start with the camera itself. And opening it up, you're going to have all your warranties and manuals, but we don't need those for now. We've got our lanyard. They do have aftermarket lanyards, and this is what I would prefer you purchase, as they will float, especially if you are using the camera without the housing. The camera itself is negatively buoyant. The camera in the housing is positively buoyant. So if you're using the camera without the housing, please get one of those lanyards that floats, okay? We have our USB-C charging cable right here. So the camera comes wrapped up, and this is our Olympus TG7 camera. This is a beautiful camera. I have one, and I think most of the guides has one. This is actually for one of the guides that I'll be delivering to them now, shortly. So the first thing to note are the hatch doors, and this is where you're going to be able to put the battery and the SD card, but then also the different charging ports and HDMI ports. On the left hand side of the camera, you will see the first hatch door on the side. It has a lock and an open little lever. So to open it, we're going to first unlock it, in which case you will see the orange bar. To open it, again, you're going to pull that down. Again, going to making it possible for you to see the orange bar. That means it's open. You don't want to see orange when you are in the water, okay? So when you open it, then you have your USB-C charging port, which is the top one, and then your mini HDMI port on the bottom one. We don't really do too much with the HDMI unless you're trying to put it on a TV or whatever. But the really important one for charging, in-camera charging, is the USB-C port right there. Okay, so to close it up, I'm just going to hold it down with my thumb, and then I'm going to close it. So again, you're not going to be able to see the orange, and then I'm going to lock it. It's really important you do both. Again, remember, you do not want to see orange before getting in the water. The same goes for the bottom here, and this is where you're going, the port for the SD card and the battery. Okay, so the small one is going to unlock it. You're going to see the orange, and then the slightly bigger one is going to open it. Again, orange. So now we have our battery and SD card. To pull the battery out, there's a little lever right here. Just pull that, and the battery should pop out like that. On the bottom of the battery, you're going to see the 3 contacts. You really need to make sure that you line these contacts up with the 3 little prongs inside. Okay, you have a spring and 3 prongs. You need to make sure that these 3 contacts on the battery match up with the prongs, because this battery unfortunately is not in a shape. You can put it in the wrong way, basically. Okay, so you want to make sure, okay, 3 prongs, 3 contacts, 3 prongs lined up, and it should just slip in and click in like that. The SD card works similarly. To pull it out, you just give it a little push with your fingernail, push, and then it pops out like that. Okay, to put it in, you want to make sure the contacts go facing the screen of the camera. Okay, so the contacts go towards the back, and same, that SD card with the little notch in the side should be facing in towards the camera. Okay, and then just give it a little pop with your fingernail, and it should just lock in like that. Okay, to close it up, you're just going to hold it closed like this with your thumb. Close it first, and then lock it. No orange means you're good to go for the water. Okay, we've got our port doors locked, both of them. The camera is essentially ready to go in the water out of the box. okay? So let's say we've gone for our snorkel, we've taken some amazing photos, now we're ready to clean it, rinse it off, and then start looking at the photos. What you want to do is you want to take your camera and you want to put it in a rinse tank, okay? So all the resorts and liveaboards that we operate will have a camera room and a rinse tank, and so it's really important that you put your camera in there for, let's say, a minute or so. If it's right after a snorkel, just pop it in there. Maybe give it a little shake around like that, and that should be good. But before you take it out, what you want to do is you want to take off this cap right here. So to do that, you push this button and then you twist it and it will just release, okay? So people are often scared to take this off and then put it in the water because it looks like this is all quite fragile and not water resistant or waterproof, but it is. This is meant to be taken off. If you have a TG7 and you have not taken this off, you'll likely notice corrosion around these 3 screws right here. Not to worry, you can just get like a little toothbrush or something like that and scrub it away. But yeah, you really want to make sure to rinse it off without this cap on, okay? This is also, if you were getting one of the wide angle lenses, conversion lenses that fit on this camera, this is how you would mount it. You would take this cap off and then you would mount that wide angle conversion lens right in there. So to put this back on, we see there's a little white dot right here. We just want to find that little white dot on this cover, and we're just going to line them up and then twist, and it will lock in. Okay, so off, push the button, twist, on, line up the white dots with each other, and twist. Okay, so that should be done every time after you snorkel. After every snorkel, when you get back to the liveaboard or resort, you want to rinse your camera, and then you want to take a little towel and dry it off. Okay, one final thing with the maintenance. Let's say you've taken the SD cards out and the battery and you're charging. You've had to open the port doors. We want to notice this O-ring right here. So this is the very fine O-ring for the TG7 camera. There's also one here. And this is very important to notice. If you see hairs or dried salt or dust on this, take your finger or maybe a little Q-tip or something like that and run it along the inside. If you have not done that in a long time and you have one of these already, please do so. Please check this, because again, this is our only line of defense against water, which is why I really recommend getting the housing, because now we have 2 lines of defenses. And this is, while the TG7 is waterproof itself out of the box, this is quite a small O-ring to trust with all your photos and stuff like that. While it does work, you do need to maintain it well. You don't need to put any silicone or anything like that on it, but you do need to just maintain and make sure that there is no hairs, dried salt, sand, dust, whatever on that O-ring, because as soon as it gets that, then it will flood and your camera will be done for. Okay? Not to scare you, but it is always a good idea to get a proper housing for these cameras, even though they are waterproof out of the box. Alright, now let's unbox our Olympus TG7 housing. There are quite a few different aftermarket housings. There's the Nauticam housing, there's the Sea of Frogs housing, some are aluminum, some are polycarbonate. We always recommend the OM system, the Olympus housing. It's the strongest, it's the cheapest, and it's not necessarily the strongest, but it's the most reliable. It's also very affordable. So we've got, again, all of our warranties and manuals, which we're not going to pay attention to right now. We are going to notice a couple things in here. Most importantly, this red thing. This is our O-ring remover. It can come in quite handy. I don't generally use it, but if you're not too familiar with how to remove the O-ring, this guy is good. These 2 things you don't need to worry about unless you are shooting with an external flash. So don't worry about them. And same, don't worry about the silica packets. I am not the biggest fan of silica packets or these desiccants, because what they do is they trap any bit of moisture, 1 drop of water or 2 drops, whatever, and then they just keep it in the housing, and then that once the camera heats up inside the housing, then it vaporizes that water, and then you get the fog. So the best thing to do is maintain your O-rings, make sure there's no drops of water in there, and then that is how you will keep a fog-free housing. These guys will not do much in the way of a flood prevention. That's why they're kind of marketed as, but they're not going to absorb all of the water that's going to then damage your camera. They're just going to hold the water and then create fog later on. All right. So, get that out of the way. We have our brand new, how do we get into this? Olympus housing. These guys are awesome. Just a nice, big enough, like compact enough to hold in one hand. And a lot of people, when they put the camera in, right after first getting it, they think, oh, this is too heavy. But underwater, this is positively buoyant. So it's actually lighter than the camera itself. And it's still easily managed with one hand. Another great thing about this housing is I love all the buttons, how they're much more pronounced versus the smaller button profile of the TG7 camera. So inside the housing, you can access all the buttons by touch. It's much more dexterous. You can access the scroll wheels, everything. The position changes a little bit, so it's a good idea to get familiar with where the different button positions are with the housing. And then you've got your little lens hood, or your sunshade for the rear LCD screen, which can help you see your LCD screen. So, all right, I'm going to close it just so we can open it. It comes open. So to open the housing, there's a little notch, a little lever right here. Well, it's got the same lock and open thing. So we're going to first unlock it, and then we are going to, this is kind of a two-handed operation right here. We're going to pull this and then twist, okay? And that will open up your housing, okay? So again, it comes with another lanyard. I would probably recommend getting a more buoyant lanyard. This one's fine. And again, the housing will be buoyant in the water, but it's also nice to have that little added buoyancy, especially in a bright color that you can see. We've got some manuals and intention stuff. But this is what the inside of the camera housing looks like, okay? It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. The thing you really want to pay attention to, the only real thing that you really need to pay attention to is the O-ring here, okay? So this is what you want to clean every single time you open the camera after a snorkel. So you want to actually remove the O-ring, put a little bit of silicone on it, and then clean the inside seat, and then put it back in and put the camera in and close it up. That is really all you need to do with this once you've rinsed it. So I'll show you how to do that right now. Right, so a couple things we need before to clean and maintain the O-ring. We need a little bit of our silicone grease, which comes with the housing, and our O-ring remover. We're also going to want to have some tissues handy. So we've got some tissues here. Any tissue will work. Doesn't have to be these lint-free things, as long as you're a little bit careful. So we are going to remove the O-ring right now using this pointy end. All you want to do is just slip that under one side and then pop it out like that. Okay, and so this is your O-ring. It's already lubed up a little bit, but we're going to do it again just for demonstration purposes. This is a brand new thing of silicone. It's already been opened. All right, so less is more in this situation. So we're just going to put maybe half a pea's worth. That much will do. That's all you need. And like, let's say you're doing 3 snorkels and you're going to change the battery between each one. You wouldn't necessarily need to put this on after each snorkel, but you would want to take the O-ring out and then run it through your fingers just to test how lubricated the O-ring is, and also to rub off any dried salts or hairs or sand that might have gotten stuck to the O-ring. So I always do that. Before putting it back in the housing, I take a tissue and then I just kind of run it along the inside seat of where that, just going to run it along the inside seat of where that O-ring is going to sit. Run it around the entire thing. And then I'm also going to do the same here, where it's going to sit against the camera body as well. Again, just making sure there's no sand, dust, or anything in there. So now I'm going to put it on. I'm going to put the O-ring back in, and just going to, it fits on nicely, and there we go. All right, now we're ready to put our camera inside the housing. So again, we just want to make sure our batteries full, our SD cards are clear, but that it's also, even though you're putting it inside the housing, you really want to make sure, again, that those hatch doors are locked, okay? So just going to set it in here like so. You can see that it just sits in there nicely, and then we are going to close it up, which is then going to line up with this locking mechanism we have on the one side. And to close it, we're just going to twist that knob like so, and then lock it. Okay, so now the camera is all the way locked, and it does come with this screen protector or glass or lens protector, which I don't love because when you're in the water, it's kind of floating around. So I end up taking this off and just being very careful. You can put this up your sleeve or in your pocket or something like that if you have, and then you can pop it back on before handing it up to the boat. But to leave it here hanging, it just kind of gets in the way, I find, especially floating around in the water. So that's just a little lanyard that you clip onto there. So now the camera is ready to go. Again, just a really beautiful little camera that can easily work with one hand, or two if you need to steady it. But it's, again, it feels heavy. It feels slightly heavier out of the water. But once you get it in the water, it is neutrally or positively buoyant. And yeah, you won't notice that weight at all, okay? All right, guys, so that just about does it, at least in terms of how to set up and clean and maintain your Olympus TG7 and Olympus TG7 housing. We're going to move into my office now, where I'm going to show you how to charge the Olympus TG7 and also some of the underwater settings that we highly recommend. Okay, so let's move on. So I'm going to show you now some of the different settings for the TG7 camera, or at least our recommended settings for shooting underwater. So I'm just going to turn the camera on. And you're going to see quite a bit of information on the screen here. You can actually toggle through that, so if you have more information or less information, by pushing this info button here. So right now you can see that there's no information on the screen. Push it one more time. You get the little histogram bars, which is confusing and I don't use. There's this one which shows your ISO and exposure, I believe. And then there's just your standard one, which shows quite a few of the different things that you might want to start paying attention to. On the right here, you're going to see a scroll wheel, and this is what's going to, this is where you're going to first start playing around with your different settings. So you've got your custom 2, custom 1 settings, A for aperture priority, P for program, video mode, auto, scene, etc. What we're going to want to roll the wheel into is the fish mode, and this is really all we're going to focus on, okay? You'll see when I roll it in, it comes up with these different menus, which again you can toggle through using the left and right buttons here. So if I go left, I've got underwater snapshot, and it says for shooting in shallow waters utilizing natural light. Underwater wide says ideal for underwater landscape photos. We've got underwater macros, which would be for our smaller subjects. We've got underwater microscope, which we are not going to pay attention to. It's just the depth of field is too small and you have to be able to pretty much put your camera on a tripod or something like that. And we've got HDR, which again, we're not going to be using. The best, just my go-to setting for underwater film or photo with the TG7 or TG6 camera is the underwater wide. And so I'm going to put it on that. I'm going to hit OK. And now it's going to give me the underwater wide settings. On the right here, you'll see this little WB Fish 2. that is your white balance setting that the TG7 camera is now programmed to use. We can change that if we want to, but for just to keep things simple, we're not going to. We're also going to look down here. So we have LSF, so that means large superfine, and that means you're using the highest resolution JPEG image possible. If it doesn't say LSF, maybe it just says LF or something like that, I recommend you switch it into LSF if you want to shoot in JPEG. If you want to be shooting in RAW, then you'll also want to switch that into RAW. So the way to do that is you press OK, and that is going to engage this right hand panel, and each of these different options on the right will have a list of options, engage a different list of options on the bottom here. So again, I'm going to push OK, and I'm going to use the up button here to, I'm going to go up to the LSF. And again, you'll see a list of options below. So you see LSF, LF, LN. If you don't push the button, it just disappears. What those letters stand for is large superfine, so highest resolution JPEG. LF means large fine. LN means large normal. So again, let's just put it on the highest resolution JPEG, because I think most of our guests are using JPEG. If you want to shoot RAW, again, you can toggle left using the left button into the RAW format. But if you don't plan on post-processing your images, then I just recommend leaving it on the LSF. That's going to give you a very high resolution JPEG, which you can play around a little bit in post if you want to, but JPEGs don't operate too well with the color grading and color correcting. That's more for the RAW images. Something else you want to do is you want to make sure your flash is off. So right here you can see there's a little lightning bolt with a cross through it. That means my flash is already off. But if you want to make sure that it's off, you can push the little lightning bolt on the right here, the little right hand button, and then make sure it says flash off. Okay, so flash is off now. Something else that's really important and I find very useful on this camera is the exposure dial on top here. So this little wheel, when I roll it to the right, it's going to increase the exposure, and you're going to be able to see it happen in the screen. Similarly, if I roll it to the left, it's going to decrease the exposure, again, which I'll be able to see in the screen. You can track it numerically down here. So right now it's at 0.0, so it's just like a very neutral, even exposure. Sometimes when snorkeling, we've got a lot of ambient light coming in the water, we've got some really white sand, which can really, your camera kind of struggles to pick an appropriate exposure, given that there's some dark shadows and some really, really light light. So you might find that it comes out a little bit too overexposed or underexposed. Without having to know anything about shutter speed, aperture, or priority, you can control the light, the exposure, just by rolling this. So watch when I roll it to the left. The screen is going to get darker, and you're going to see that number go down to -0.2. That's the maximum you can go down. If I want to increase it, again, I can roll it to the right, and you will see it increase on the screen like that. Now I'm at +0.2. If you find that your photos are regularly coming out overexposed or underexposed and you're not sure why, this wheel is often the culprit, because you've been snorkeling around, whatever, and you've accidentally rolled it. So don't panic, don't think your camera's broken. Just check the exposure number down at the bottom there, and oftentimes it will be a -2 or +2, and that is a big, that is something that happens. Just be aware of it, okay? Something else I like to do, or I like to point out, is the white balance. So you can control the white balance. It says underwater fish 2, and again, that is our white balance setting, but there's a couple other ones for maybe more shallow situations or for deeper situations. So we're going to push OK, and we're going to toggle up to our white balance. On the bottom here, you're going to see a couple different options. You're going to see WB fish 1, WB fish 2, and WB fish 3. And so that one says underwater deep, underwater mid-range, and underwater shallow. If you find that your images are coming out too red, what you can do is you can go to underwater shallow and set that white balance. And so this is This is for like crystal clear water in, you know, let's say 3 feet or less. I find this, I rarely ever have to switch into this one. WB Fish 2, this is the best all-around setting for the type of environments that we are snorkeling in. Sometimes we might be on a site that's a little bit deeper, if it's a manta cleaning station where the manta's down at 5 meters or whatever. You might want to switch your camera into WB Fish 3, because again, we really want to remember we white balance for the depth that our subjects are at, not the depth that we are. If we're at the surface and our subject is at 5 meters, we're white balancing for 5 meters, not for the surface where we are. So in the case that we have some mantas down on a cleaning station at 5-6 meters, 18-20 feet, we are going to switch the camera into WB Fish 3, okay? And then, you know, then we go back onto a reef, and then we WB Fish 2. Again, I'm just doing that by pushing the OK button, toggling up or down to wherever our white balance setting is, and then going left or right once I'm on the white balance setting, and then hitting OK when I'm at the white balance setting I am at, okay? Guys, I think that's just about it for the fantastic little Olympus TG7 camera, okay? Right, so let us now talk about how to charge the camera. So the first thing you're going to do is open it up. Remember, we're going to unlock it, showing you the orange, and then opening it again so you see the orange. Okay, that opens the hatch door. All we're going to do is take the USB-C cable that the camera came with, and we're going to plug it in. Okay, and when you plug it in, you're not going to have to turn it on or anything like that. This is just this screen is automatically going to come up. So it's going to say storage, MTP, charge, or exit. You need to toggle down using the down button and click OK to hit charge. This is the only annoying thing about this camera. For some reason, if you do not click charge, it will not charge. So you're going to see that little indicator come up, indicating that it's charging, and then it will disappear. And when it's done, the camera should just turn off automatically, and you can just make sure you just double check it to see that it is charged. Okay? Alright guys, so I think that does it for our unboxing and setup video for the Olympus TG7 camera and the Olympus housing. Please, if you have any questions or if I've missed something that you don't quite understand, please don't hesitate to reach out, and we will be sure to get back to you as soon as possible. I have a few of these other videos and quite a few blogs on our website, which you can check in the post links below. But otherwise, really hope to see you on tour soon.